Last May, Game of Thrones aired its final episode to very mixed reactions from the show's audience, but the show's impact on pop culture cannot be understated. Yet, even if you despise the final two seasons, I'm here to tell you that there's actually still hope, because the final two books might be completely different. Hey, I'm Cody Mathieson-Lowe and welcome to The Boardroom, a show where I explore both culture and internet fascinations. Now, I was really hoping that we could be in a boardroom, but the furniture still needs to be moved in, so we'll just have to work with the office for now. This week, we're looking at the Song of Ice and Fire books and how the Game of Thrones TV show adapted the books in various different ways. Some of these were due to budget constraints, but also characters maybe not fitting into the show or different narratives not working well. Now, before I get ahead of myself, there will be a Song of Ice and Fire books as well as Game of Thrones spoilers ahead, so you've been warned. One of the main changes from the books is the exclusion of Lady Stoneheart. In the show and book, Catelyn Stark, the matriarch of the Stark family, tragically dies at the Red Wedding. In the show, however, that's it for Catelyn, but in the books it's completely different. Remember these guys, or more specifically this guy? Well, in the books, Beric Dondarrion, through magic, gives up his life to revive Catelyn Stark. When she comes back, she goes on a brutal campaign to kill everyone involved in the Red Wedding. Such a big character revival in the books could have a massive impact on the story. She may be involved in the ending in some way, shape, or form, but fan theory suggests that she may be the one to revive this guy. The main reason why is because in the books, Jon Snow hasn't been revived, he's still dead. Now, before we move forward, there is one big thing that we need to bring up. The book's ending only differs if, well, they get finished. Because this guy is the main thing that matters. When writing on his blog about the ending of the show, George R. R. Martin alluded to the parts of it will be the same while other parts will be different. And yeah, that's a real quote there. He said that this includes different character arcs and a butterfly effect from characters not necessarily involved in the show, but a big part in the books. And also that there will be unicorns, which I'm super excited for. So while there may be the same plot points, we can probably expect a little bit of a different journey. And while George has said that the television ending has the same plot points, he did bring up a good point. I'm working on a very different medium, Martin wrote. They had 6 hours for this final season. I expect these last 2 books of mine will fill 3,000 manuscript pages between them. An example of these differences between a character's journey in the books is Tyrion Lannister. In A Dance with Dragons, Tyrion meets 2 characters excluded from the show, a man named Griff and his son, young Griff. It doesn't take long for Tyrion to figure out that Griff is an exiled Jon Connington, a former Lord of Westeros and friend of Rhaegar Targaryen, Daenerys' brother, but also Jon Snow's dad. Tyrion also figures out that young Griff is Aegon Targaryen, the son of Rhaegar, who was thought to be killed by this guy when he was an infant. It turns out that Aegon had been swapped with a different baby before the mountain arrived, and that Aegon had been smuggled to Essos by Varys. At this point in the books, Tyrion had not met Daenerys, and by the end of A Dance with Dragons, he has only met her once. So he hasn't told of a potential Targaryen in the world. What makes Connington and Aegon so important is where they are in the books and what they are planning. Connington and Aegon are part of the Golden Company, who are awesome and tragically mishandled in the show. They are the guys that died about 5 minutes into the last battle of the show. The Golden Company are way better than that. They are 10,000 of the best sellswords in the world, including many exiled lords from Westeros, including Jon Connington. So having them on your side is a massive plus in my opinion. And Aegon Targaryen alongside the Golden Company has launched its campaign on Westeros. At the end of A Dance with Dragons, they landed in Westeros with the plan to move forward towards King's Landing. With Varys spending years saving and plotting to have Aegon take the throne, there is a high chance that we do see Aegon Targaryen as king in the books. Which again completely changes the ending if you think about it. It probably means that Cersei isn't involved at all, and if Aegon is successful, then she probably will die. Daenerys Targaryen also has a more realistic character arc and higher difficulty in getting that throne. With Aegon coming back, he could potentially be the king that Westeros wants. If so, then Daenerys versus Aegon would definitely make Daenerys the baddie. If it plays out like it did in the show, then Daenerys would come to Westeros with a bunch of foreign soldiers and dragons to a city that had just been liberated by a tyrannical overlord in the Lannisters. Or maybe we see a marriage between the two Targaryens before she meets a revived Jon Snow. It remains to be seen what success Aegon Targaryen has, but there is one character that definitely succeeded in what they wanted in the final episode, and that's Bran Stark. Isaac Hempstead Wright, the actor of Bran Stark, confirmed that the idea of Bran becoming king is a George R.R. Martin idea. And if I'm honest, it makes sense. When we first meet Bran in the books, he feels like the stereotypical young knight role, one day wanting to fight in the big battle and the like. And as we all know, that didn't go to plan. As we got Bran the Broken, it becomes more apparent through his walking ability that Bran is important to the story. Having the ability to see the future and past with vivid detail seems completely glossed over when you have literal dragons in the world. In the show, when Bran is nominated to become the king, he simply responds with, "Why did you think I came all this way?" Which makes you feel like he had knowledge in what he was doing. I think, however, this longing for king goes back to when he was way up north with the Three-Eyed Raven, or Crow in the books, because the Three-Eyed Raven may have been the driving force towards Bran becoming king. The Three-Eyed Raven's history in this show isn't covered, but in the books is a lot more interesting. Originally born Brynden Rivers, he was a Targaryen bastard that earned the nickname Bloodraven. Bloodraven was involved in many battles and was even hand to the king at one point. Bloodraven, however, was sent to the wall and he eventually deserted. At the time Bran meets him, Bloodraven is 125 years old and should be long dead. That's the reason why when we first met him, he was a lot older with overgrown hair and fingernails. So when he dies, it makes sense, he's lived a long life, but what if he hasn't really died? Bran seems to suggest that when he became the Three-Eyed Raven that it completely changed him. What if Bloodraven somehow merged with Bran? This would explain Bran's sudden personality change and deadpan demeanor. And Bloodraven in his early years was no saint. He was a gifted warrior that killed his own half-brother in battle to end the Blackfire Rebellion. The reason why he was sent to the war was because he invited Aenys Blackfire, his half-brother's son, to King's Landing under peaceful terms when a new king was needed to be elected. When Aenys got there, Bloodraven killed him. So much for peaceful terms, I guess. If you want to find out more about Bloodraven, you can check out Alt-Shift-X's video on Bloodraven. It's a really detailed, lengthy history of him. Anyway, there could be a chance that after all these years, Bloodraven wanted the throne because he could see himself as the only person that could be, but his old body disabled him from doing so. And the only person that could probably do that was Bran. Sorry, buddy. That's it for the episode. It's a goodbye from me, Cody. I'll see you next time in the boardroom.